Our Torah portion today is Parashah 41, Pinchas, beginning on Numbers 25:10, Bamidbar 25:10. Let's begin with the blessing for our Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzavanu la'asok b'devrei Torah. Blessed are you, Hashem, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and commanded us to study words of Torah. Bamidbar 25, verse 10. Adonai said to Moshe, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon, the Kohen, has deflected my anger from the people of Israel by being as zealous as I am, so that I didn't destroy them in my own zeal. Therefore, say, I am giving him my covenant of shalom, making a covenant with him and his descendants after him, that the office of Kohen will be theirs forever. This is because he was zealous on behalf of his God and made atonement for the people of Israel. The name of the man from Israel who was killed, put to death with the woman from Midian, was Zimri, the son of Shalu, leader of one of the clans from the tribe of Shimon. The name of the woman from Midian who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur, and he was head of the people in one of the clans of Midian. Adonai said to Moshe, treat the Midianim as enemies and attack them, because they are treating you as enemies by the trickery they used to deceive you in the Peor incident and in the affair of their sister Cosbi, the daughter of the leader from Midian, the woman who was killed on the day of the plague in the Peor incident. After the plague, chapter 26, Adonai said to Moshe and Eleazar, the son of Aharon, the Kohen, take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel, 20 years old and over, by their ancestral clans, all who are subject to military service in Israel. Moshe and Eleazar, the Kohen, spoke with them on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, explaining, those 20 years old and over who came out of the land of Egypt, as Adonai ordered Moshe and the people of Israel. The census results begin with Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. The descendants of Reuben were of Hanok, the family of the Honaki, of Palu, the family of the Palui, of Herzon, the family of the Herzroni, and of Carmi, the family of the Carmi. These were the families of the Reuveni. Of them were counted 43,730. The sons of Palu, Eliav, and the sons of Eliav, Nemuel, Datan, and Aviram. These are the same, Datan and Aviram, men of reputation in the community who rebelled against Moshe and Aharon in Korach's group when they rebelled against Adonai. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korach when that group died. And the fire consumed 250 men, and they became a warning sign. However, the sons of Korach, did not die. The descendants of Shimron by their families were of Nemuel, the family of the Numali, of Yamin, the family of the Yamini, of Yakin, the family of the Yakini, of Zerach, the family of the Zarki, and of Shaul, the family of the Shauli. These were the families of the Shimroni, 22,200. The descendants of Gad by their families were of Zephon, the family of the Zephoni, of Hagi, the family of the Hagi, of Shuni, the family of the Shuni, of Ozni, the family of the Ozni, of Eri, the family of the Eri, of Arad, the family of the Aradi, and of Ar-Eli, the family of the Ar-Eli. These were the families of the sons of Gad, according to those counted of them, 40,500. The sons of Yehuda, first and Onan, but and Onan died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Yehuda who had descendants were of Shelah, the family of the Shalani, of Perez, the family of the Partzi, and of Zarach, the family of the Zarki. The sons of Perez were of Herzon, the family of the Herzoni, and of Hamul, the family of the Hamuli. These were the families of Yehuda, according to those counted of them, 76,500. The descendants of Yishakar by their families were of Tola, the family of the Tolai, of Puva, the family of the Puni, of Yashuv, the family of the Yashuvi, and of Shimron, the family of the Shimroni. These were the families of Yishakar, according to those counted of them, 64,300. The descendants of Zebulun by their families were of Zared, the family of the Sardi, of Elon, the family of the Eloni, and of Yakleil, the family of the Yakali. These were the families of the Zavoni, according to those counted of them, 60,500. The sons of Yosef by their families were Manasseh and Ephraim. The descendants of Manasseh were of Machir, the family of the Machiri. Machir was the father of Gilad, the family of the Giladi. These are the descendants of Gilad, of Ezer, the family of Ezer, of Helek, the family of Helki, of Azriel, the family of Azrieli, of Shechem, the family of the Shikmi, of Shemida, the family of the Shemidai, and of Hefer, the family of the Hefri. So Lophkad, the son of Hefer, had no sons, but did have daughters. The names of the daughters of Zelophehad were Makla, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. These were the families of Manasseh. Of them were counted 52,700. These are the descendants of Ephraim by their families, of Shatulach, the family of the Shutalki, of Becher, the family of the Bakri, and of Takan, the family of the Takani. These are the descendants of Shutalach. Of Aaron, the family of Erani. These were the families of the descendants of Ephraim, according to those of them that were counted, 32,500. These were the descendants of Joseph by their families. The descendants of Benjamin by their families were of Bela, the family of the Bali, of Ashbel, the family of the Ashbeli, of Akram, the family of the Akrami, of Shufufam, the family of the Shufami, and of Hufam, the family of the Hufami. The sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman. Of Ard, the family of the Ardi, and of Naaman, the family of the Naami. These were the descendants of Benjamin by their families. Of them were counted 45,600. The descendants of Dan by their families were of Shukam, the family of the Shukami. These are the families of Dan by their families. All the families of the Shukami, according to those of them that were counted, were 64,400. The descendants of Asher by their families, of Yimnah, the family of the Yimnah of Yishvi, the family of the Yishvi, and of Beriah, the family of the Beri. Of the descendants of Beriah of Hever, the family of the Hevri. And of Machiel, the family of the Machieli. The name of Asher's daughter was Serach. These were the families of the descendants of Asher, according to those of them that were counted, 53,400. The descendants of Naphtali, by their families, of Yakzeel, the families of the Yakzeeli, of Guni, the family of the Guni, of Yetzer, the family of the Yitzri, and of Shelem, the family of the Shelemi. These are the families of Naphtali, according to their families. Those of them that were counted were 45,400. Thus, those who were counted, the people of Israel, numbered 601,730. Adonai said to Moshe, the land is to be parceled out among these as a possession to be inherited, according to the number of names. To those families with more persons, you are to give a greater inheritance, and to those with fewer, you are to give a smaller inheritance. Each family's inheritance is to be given according to the number counted in it. However, the land is to be awarded by lot. They will inherit according to the names of the tribes of their ancestors. But the inheritance is to be parceled out by lot between the families with more and those with fewer. Those counted among the Levi by their families were of Gershon, the family of the Gershuni, of Chat, the family of the Chati, and of Merari, the family of the Merari. These are the families of Levi, the families of the Livni, the family of the Hevroni, the family of the Malkli, the family of the Mushi, and the family of the Korki. Kat was the father of Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Yocheved, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt, and she bore to Amram, Aharon, Moshe, and their sister Miriam. To Aharon were born Nadav, Avihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. But Nadav and Avihu died when they offered unauthorized fire before Adonai. Those males 1 month old or more, counted of the Levi, were 23,000. These were not included in the census of the people of Israel, because no land for inheritance was given to them among the people of Israel. These are the ones counted by Moshe and Eleazar the Kohen, who took a census of the people of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan, across from Jericho. But there was not a man among them who had also been included in the census of Moshe and Aharon the Kohen when they enumerated the people of Israel in the Sinai desert, because Adonai had said of them, they will surely die in the desert. So there was not left even one of them, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Yehoshua, the son of Nun. Chapter 27. Then the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilad, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, approached. These were the names of his daughters: Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They stood in front of Moshe, Eleazar the Kohen, the leaders, and the whole community at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and said, "Our father died in the desert. He wasn't part of the group who assembled themselves to rebel against Adonai in Korach's group. But he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be eliminated from his family just because he didn't have a son? Give us property to possess along with the brothers of our father." Moshe brought their case before Adonai. Adonai answered Moshe, "The daughters of Zelophehad are right in what they say. You must give them property to be inherited along with that of their father's brothers. Have what their father would have inherited passed to them. Moreover, say to the people of Israel, if a man dies and does not have a son, you are to have his inheritance pass to his daughter. If he doesn't have a daughter, give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, give his inheritance to his father's brothers. If his father doesn't have brothers, give his inheritance to the closest relative in his family, and he will possess it. This will be the standard for judgment to be used by the people of Israel as Adonai ordered Moshe." Adonai said to Moshe, "Climb this mountain in the Avarim range and look out at the land which I give the people of Israel. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, just as Aharon, your brother, was gathered. Because in the Tzin desert, when the community was disputing with me, you rebelled against my order to uphold my holiness by means of the water, with them looking on." This was Miravat Kadesh spring in the Tzin desert. Moshe said to Adonai, "Let Adonai, God of the spirits of all human beings, appoint a man to be over the community, to go out and come in ahead of them, to lead them out and bring them in, so that Adonai's community will not be like sheep without a shepherd." Adonai said to Moshe, "Take Yehoshua, the son of Nun, a spiritual man, and lay your hand on him. Put him in front of Eleazar the Kohen and the whole community, and commission him in their sight. Delegate to him some of your authority, so that the entire community of Israel will obey him. He is to present himself to Eleazar the Kohen, who's to find out by means of the Urim what Adonai's will is for Yehoshua's decisions. Then, at his word, they will go out, and at his word, they will come in. both he and all the people of Israel with him, the whole community. Moshe did as Adonai had ordered him. He took Yehoshua, put him before Eleazar the Kohen and the whole community, laid his hands on him, and commissioned him as Adonai had said through Moshe. Chapter 28. Adonai said to Moshe, "Give an order to the people of Israel. Tell them, you are to take care to offer me at the proper time the food presented to me as offerings made by fire, providing a fragrant aroma for me. Tell them, this is the offering made by fire that you are to bring to Adonai. Male lambs in their first year and without defect, 2 daily as a regular burnt offering. Offer the one lamb in the morning and the other lamb at dusk, along with 2 quarts of fine flour as a grain offering, mixed with 1 quart of oil from pressed olives. It is the regular burnt offering, the same as was offered on Mount Sinai to give a fragrant aroma, an offering made by fire for Adonai. Its drink offering is to be 1/4 hin for 1 lamb. In the holy place you are to pour out a drink offering of intoxicating liquor to Adonai. The other lamb you are to present at dusk. Present it with the same kind of grain offering and drink offering as in the morning. It is an offering made by fire with a fragrant aroma for Adonai. On Shabbat, offer 2 male lambs in their first year and without defect, with 1 gallon of fine flour as a grain offering, mixed with olive oil, and its drink offering. This is the burnt offering for every Shabbat, in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. At each Rosh Chodesh of yours, you are to present a birth offering to Adonai consisting of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year and without defect, with 6 quarts of fine flour mixed with olive oil as a grain offering for each bull, 4 quarts of fine flour mixed with olive oil as a grain offering for the 1 ram, and 2 quarts of fine flour mixed with olive oil as a grain offering for each lamb. This will be the burnt offering, giving a fragrant aroma, an offering made by fire for Adonai. Their drink offerings will be 2 quarts of wine for a bull, 1 1/3 quarts for the ram, and 1 quart for each lamb. This is the burnt offering for every Rosh Chodesh throughout the months of the year. Also, a male goat is to be offered as a sin offering to Adonai, in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, is Adonai's Pesach. On the 15th day of the month is to be a feast. Matzah is to be eaten for 7 days. The first is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work, but present an offering made by fire, a burnt offering to Adonai, consisting of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year. They are to be without defect for you. With their grain offering, fine flour mixed with olive oil. Offer 6 quarts for a bull, 4 quarts for the ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also, a male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. You are to offer these in addition to the morning burnt offering, which is the regular burnt offering. In this fashion, you are to offer daily for 7 days the food of the offering made by fire, making a fragrant aroma for Adonai. It is to be offered in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. On the 7th day, you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. On the day of the first fruits, when you bring a new grain offering to Adonai, in your feast of Shavuot, you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work, but present a burnt offering as a fragrant aroma for Adonai, consisting of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, 7 male rams in their first year, and their grain offering, fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts for each bull, 4 quarts for the 1 ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs, plus a male goat to make atonement for you. You are to offer these in addition to the regular burnt offering and its grain offering. They are to be without defect for you with their drink offerings. Chapter 29. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. It is a day of blowing the shofar for you. Prepare a burnt offering to make a fragrant aroma for Adonai. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year and without defect, with their grain offering, consisting of fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts for the bull, 4 quarts for the ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. This is to be in addition to the burnt offering for Rosh Chodesh with its grain offering, the regular burnt offering with its grain offering, and their drink offerings, according to the rule for them. This will be a fragrant aroma, an offering made by fire to Adonai. On the 10th day of this 7th month, you are to have a holy convocation. You are to deny yourselves, and you are not to do any kind of work, but you are to present a burnt offering to Adonai to make a fragrant aroma, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year. They are to be without defect for you, with their grain offering, fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts for the bull, 4 quarts for the 1 ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the sin offering for atonement, and the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and their drink offerings. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you are to have a holy convocation. You are not to do any kind of ordinary work, and you to observe a feast to Adonai 7 days. You are to present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, bringing a fragrant aroma to Adonai. It is to consist of 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year. They are to be without defect, with their grain offering, fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts for each of the 13 bulls, 4 quarts for each of the 2 rams, and 2 quarts for each of the 14 lambs. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 2nd day, you are to present 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs, according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and their drink offerings. On the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs, according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs, according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. On the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and drink offerings. On the 8th day, you are to have a festive assembly. You are not to do any kind of ordinary work, but you are to present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, giving a fragrant aroma to Adonai, 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs in their first year without defect, with the grain and drink offerings for the bull, the ram, and the lambs according to their number, in keeping with the rule. Also, 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offerings. You are to offer these to Adonai at your designated times, in addition to your vows and voluntary offerings, whether these are your burnt offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, or peace offerings. Chapter 30. Moshe told the people of Israel everything just as Adonai had ordered Moshe. What questions, comments do you have?
What's important about all Turn your hearing on.
Oh, you know what? I had my hearing aids turned down.
We know.
Was I too loud because
No.
of that? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. You knew I didn't have my hearing aids up,
Because
did
I
you?
asked a question.
Oh, did you? That's one way to stop questions, right? Just turn your hearing aids off and we're good to go. All right.
What's the purpose of all of those names?
Of all the names that were read,
Yes.
wow, okay. What was the purpose of all the names? Well, that's a good question, by the way. And I'm going to give you a good answer. I don't know. I don't know. But I suspect that the census was different from the first sentence. from the first sentence. The census that led to the sentence of 40 years in the wilderness, right? The first one, which was a war footing census. And although the text says, count those of military age, it is not a war census. This census is not a war census. How do I know that? That's my turn to ask a question. How do I know that it was not a war census?
You read the answer sheet?
That's right. That's right. I read the answer sheet, and the answer sheet is the text itself, because it goes on to say, they're aligning the inheritance of the land. This was for the purpose of identifying who is going into the land, because they are on the edge of it. They're getting ready to go. The only one left to die, because see, they just had the plague with 24,000. No one else dies after this except for Moshe. And then they enter into the land. So that is, did that answer your question? Why all the names? Because they are different. If you look at the census and the structure and everything, it's quite a bit different. It is talking about families. It's not talking about, we're going to war. No, we're going to inherit the land after all these years. Amen. Okay.
I was wondering if perhaps it has something to do with the year of Jubilee, when stuff gets restored. If there was no record of who had it, who they know, how they know who to give it back.
Well,
Just a thought.
yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that's part of it, yeah. And see, they haven't even gone through the allotment part yet, right? And of course, they haven't been in the land to enact the year of Jubilee. And some even suppose, some sages have supposed, that Israel never, not once, celebrated the year of Jubilee. That's what some say.
They never fully inherited the land.
That could be part of the answer. They never fully embraced that. And consequently, there are others who have said that is why the land has been was desolate for 2,000 years. It was because God had counted up all the Shabbat, not just the year of Jubilee. A lot of times, it's not even clear that they even did the 7th year Shabbat. And they haven't done that since they've returned to the land either. Of course, they would say, well, I don't know what they would say, actually, but I'm sure there's... Do you know what they would say, Doctor? No? Oh, okay. But you have a question.
Yeah, I had so many thoughts. I was looking for paper to write down
Wow.
my notes and
Okay.
stuff like this. But I kind of wonder, in response to her question, if I may,
Sure, absolutely.
I think the names are important for several reasons. Number one, geographically, as Israel gets spread out through the nations, we find that a lot of geographical names are Hebrew names, especially in Germany and Northern Europe from there. But I think also some of given names some of them, we can trace some of our given names or surnames back to the Bible that way. So it kind of gives us a little bit of reaching back, or that we're fish in the nations from that standpoint.
That's good.
But some of the thoughts that I had, as we take a bird's eye view of the offerings and stuff, we always look at it as a sin offering or an offering for penitence type of deal. But as we look at the scriptures as a ketubah, let's look at it as a love letter, that he is the bridegroom and we are the bride, We
Yeah.
establish the tabernacle and the temple, and we look at these animal offerings, we see in our own marriages that, for me, I can't cook. So, and for most people, the wives prepare the meals. Is this not a sign of our marriages that we, functioning as his bride, are preparing a meal in obedience and showing our love to our husband, where these offerings are actually meals in the house of Yahweh? The wife prepares the meals. Shabbat, in the Haney translation of the Bible, the Shabbat is date night, a special meal, special times of hanging together with the wife and family. And I'm not the example, unfortunately. The monthly special date night, once a month, and then the Moedim are like the anniversaries type of deal, the special of the specials. It seems to me.
That's very good, Doctor. In fact, the covenant that was given at Mount Sinai was a marriage contract between God and his bride, Israel. And then when that was broken, even before it was given, so to speak, a new marriage contract was given, followed on that, and that contract was actually different from the one that Moshe carried down from the mountain. But that was a marriage contract. And so that's exactly right. We need to see the Ten Commandments as a covenant marriage contract of obligations. Go ahead.
One of the other thoughts, especially, I had a nurse whose name was, what's one of the 5 daughters that didn't have they didn't have a brother?
Yeah.
Tirza. Her name was Tirza. And actually, she's a missionary nurse now overseas. But it stimulated the idea of the inheritance.
The last
And
one,
it's-
Tirza?
Yes. And in Hosea, I was reading in our devotions last week that when Messiah comes, he will let us live in our own homes. And that stimulated the thought, a week or two ago, we think we own our own homes, but we don't, because we pay rent. We have to pay property taxes. We pay rent to the government. And if we don't pay that rent, Mr. Sheriff comes around and steals the home from us.
Oh, yeah.
In the new millennium, that will not happen. That he will allow us to have our own home, that he will actually provide us our home. He will also allow us to
Tax-free.
have an inheritance. And as we see man's new laws coming, he can do things better. We can do, and man then, as what's his name that just passed away, Brad Scott said, and man then came along and said he could do better. As we see our new laws, they're always erasing God's law or trying to do the exact opposite. So they're trying to steal the inheritance, number one, through taxes, but also now inheritance taxes and what have you. So it just...
Yeah, as Brad Scott said, of blessed memory, God chose the beginning, the end at the beginning. So, yeah, it's a package deal.
And then as we were talking about the census, we now take census for taxes and tax purposes.
Yes.
And a little bit for war planning. It's not for inheritance. And this was for inheritance.
That's very good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. That's excellent. Okay, I'll take some more questions, but we're running out of time. I wanted to cover a couple things here. One was from Bamidbar 25:12. where we have God is honoring Pinchas. In fact, what Pinchas did from a human point of view, even according to the Torah, was murder. He murdered them according to Torah. And this is the courage of Pinchas, because he was not going to let this stand. His zeal, his zealousness for God, actually God elevated, that he showed his same zeal. So he elevated the action of Pinchas to divine status. It was as if God himself drove the spear through Zimri and Kosi. So it was not murder. It was divine judgment. So he elevated that to the same sphere of God's very own divine judgment. And he honored or rewarded, however you want to look at it, Pinchas. Now some say, wait a minute. He was already a priest. So because he was the descendant of Aaron, and so of course he would be a priest anyway. So what happened? Well, the sages say he was not a priest because he was a grandson of Aharon, yes, but they say that he had already been born before the covenant was made. So that technically he was not a descendant, because when the priests were anointed, it was Aharon and his 4 sons and their descendants. No mention made, the sages say, of a grandson that had already been born. Yet we see Pinchas, his own devotion and zealousness for God. And so God says, you will be a priest. You will be forever my covenant of peace. Covenant of peace. Now, in the Torah scroll, this is the statement, eth, which is not translated into Hebrew, the Aleph Tav, right? It's sign of the direct object, and also is the first and last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is, in the Greek, would be like the Alpha and Omega, right? Alpha and Omega. But anyway, eth, to sign a direct object, my covenant, my peace covenant. The word shalom, in the Torah scroll, you won't see this in any printed Bible. This is in the Torah scroll itself. At this particular verse, the Vav is broken. The Vav is broken. Now, there are thousands of regulations to ensure that a Torah scroll is pure, is kosher. And if a single letter in a Torah scroll is broken, it cannot be used in the public reading of the Torah in the synagogue. Yet, every Torah scroll has this broken letter, and it is accepted. In fact, it is faithfully copied. God has ensured this in the Torah scrolls. There's a couple unique aspects in this whole section, Torah portion, but this particular one is, and I've tried to show that by breaking the Vav in two, as it is broken in the text. And what does this do? Well, there is a very long and convoluted response, which we don't have time for. All right? So I will just simply say this. According to a Torah teacher, Messianic Torah teacher, Joseph Snipes, he believes that this is messianic and points to the Messiah, Yeshua. Because by breaking the Vav in two, you make the upper part into a Yod, which in Hebrew means hand, where the Vav itself means nail. So we have a hand and a nail here. Also, the Vav is the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, so it also stands for the number 6, and in Gematria, the number 6 is a sign of man. So here is a man like Pinchas, who, from his point of view, gave himself for the nation because he fully expected to be executed for his action. But he was not going to let it stand, and he freely offered his own life when he took their lives to stop. But instead, it stopped the plague. Now, I'm going to extend a little bit. All right. Down at the bottom here, we have the two. I had the census, and I listed Reuben, Shimon, and Gad, the first three of both censuses. These are the only three that lost numbers. And Shimon lost 37,100 less than they started with. And some think that most of those that died in this last plague were from the tribe of Shimon, which is where Zimri was from, that they were the greatest offenders in this revolt, as where Reuben was from the one with Korach, right? But Reuben lost as well, and so did Gad. All the others increased. All the others increased, and Yishakar increased the most. Yishakar increased, no, not Yishakar, Asher increased the most. 11,900 more than he started with, and Benjamin was second. So, yeah, Judah's way down the line. Doesn't even make the top 6. So, but they still had a large tribe, right? Anyway, I just wanted to say that. So, thank you for your attention. Shabbat Shalom.